Good evening, everyone, and Happy New Year. We're going to call tonight's meeting to order. We're going to start with the approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Stevens and Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? And that's carried unanimously. Are there any disclosures of direct or indirect pecuniary interest? I'm seeing none. We had no closed session today, so we're going to head straight into our open meeting. And we are going to begin, as we always do, with the singing of the national anthem. So I will ask that you rise if you're able.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
We would like to acknowledge the treaty lands and territory of the Williams Treaty Nations and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We also recognize that Dufferin County is the traditional territory of the Wendat and the Haudenosaunee and is home to many Indigenous people today. Tonight's meeting is being aired on public television and or streamed live and may be taped for later public broadcast or webcast. Your name is part of the public record and will be included in the minutes of this meeting. Any member of the public connecting via telephone is reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Please remain muted until the chair requests comments or questions from the public. Before we head into the meeting, I do want to introduce two new faces that everybody's probably noticing at our table. And I'll start with our new General Manager of Corporate Services, Antonietta Minikilo. Welcome to the town. I'm going to turn the mic over to you first for a few words of welcome.
Through you, Madam Mayor, thank you. Excellent pronunciation on my challenging name, by the way. Thank you. I am pleased, very pleased to be a part of the Orangeville team and to serve such a vibrant and beautiful community. And I look forward to working with everybody, both internally and the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antonetta. We also have a brand new clerk to the town, and I'd like to welcome Raylene Martel. And I'll turn the mic over to you, Raylene. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Post. It's a pleasure to be here, and I cannot say how much I'm enjoying it so far and how welcoming your team and your staff are here. So thank you for welcoming me.
Fantastic. Welcome, both of you, to the community. We have no rise and report. I do have a recommendation to approve the minutes of the council meeting from December 11th. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Deputy Mayor, any questions or comments on the minutes? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. We will head straight into question period. If there's any members of the public connecting via telephone, are reminded to press *6 to mute and unmute. Jerry, is there anyone on the line? Nope, seeing none. Okay, was there anybody in the gallery who wished to ask a question? And I'm seeing none, so we will move right. Oh, sorry. Come on up. Come on up. And if you can just turn on the mic and state your name and address for the record, and go ahead and ask your question. Jerry's got it? Jerry's got it for you. Yep, you're good.
I can actually. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Council. I have some comments.
Before you start, can you just do your name and address for the record, please? And then you can go into your comments.
My name. Oh, Rick Ugolini.
Thank you.
Cedar Drive. I have some comments on the staff here in town. And I have watched council meetings in the past and found them boring and difficult to understand. And would I like to say to Mr. Smith, Ms. Savage, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Moore, Cosgrove, Curry, Mr. Koselak, and Mr. DeLeese, and numerous staff members that are not here, or to the staff members for making this dumbass truck driver, old truck driver, easy to understand and follow. I appreciated the budget talks because they're easy to follow and understand. And for that, I appreciate all of you. And I thank you for that. And that's my comment.
Thank you so much for that, Mr. Ugolini. That's really nice to hear. Our staff work extremely hard to try and connect with the community. So I really appreciate you taking the time to say that. We've got exceptional staff here, and you'll get to know our 2 new ones soon, I'm sure, too. But thank you for those comments. That's really appreciated. Our first presentation, our delegation, is from Dimitro Basmat, who's the president of Youth Activists, Inc., talking about supporting youth in Dufferin-Caledon. Mr. Basmat, I will bring you to the front. You can have a seat there and get the mic turned on for you, and we'll get your presentation going.
Stand.
Now it is. You're good.
Well, thank you very much, Mayor Post and members of council, for having me here. My name is Dimitro Basmat. I am the president of Youth Activists, Inc. You may have heard a bit about myself and my organization in a previous delegation, so I am here to tell you about the important work that we do to support young people in Dufferin-Caledon. So about Youth Activists, Inc. Youth Activists, Inc. was founded in 2019. We are a youth social advocacy organization here in Dufferin-Caledon, and we are a registered nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that focuses on the advancements of youth social advocacy campaigns and events in Dufferin-Caledon. So feel free to read more about the slide in your own time. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm going to keep going here. About our team, we have a young, vibrant team with various skill sets, just like any other nonprofit in Ontario. We are a volunteer-run board. You'll notice that one of our board members, Julia Bertolo, is also the founder of Caledon Pride. Caledon Pride falls under Youth Activists, Inc., and it's an umbrella organization. And Caledon Pride, for your information, is a LGBTQ advocacy organization in Caledon and seeks to promote LGBTQ advocacy in the community. So a bit more about that later. So about Youth Activists, Inc., our origins started as an operational arm of Ches Place Youth Center. So I'm from Bolton. Our nonprofit was first started in Caledon, and we ran Ches Place Youth Center. It was a community organization that was set up in the honor of a murdered young person in the community, Francesco Molinaro. And the young people around him came together and created this youth center in his honor. And we were not part of the establishment of that center. We took over the operations of it, but we took it over and we welcomed in hundreds of people, hundreds of young people into the center by the time we ended our tenure. We ended our tenure because of the COVID pandemic, and unfortunately we don't run the youth center anymore, but another fantastic local community group has come in and taken over the reins there. So we've hosted community events across Dufferin-Caledon. In 2019, we hosted a federal debate for youth-specific issues. We've hosted community pumpkin walks to grow community spirit, and we've worked with partner organizations, including Peel Children's Aid, to bring forth issues from the Caledon into the spotlight, and also run retreats and conferences and serve as a community hub when we had the youth center. So since then, we've shifted from the youth center because unfortunately it was closed down to the pandemic, and we had to adapt. And in the midst of the COVID pandemic, we shifted our focus on running youth social advocacy campaigns, and we continue to do this to this day. One of our largest campaigns was our human trafficking campaign. It was our most successful campaign to date. It was shared across Peel schools, big city mayors, the region of Peel, and various organizations. And eventually we reached tens of thousands of young people in Canada with the campaign to really advocate for awareness of human trafficking and the signs and dangers of it. Other campaigns that we've done include the Stand With Ukraine campaign with the Ukrainian flag raising at the town of Caledon, as well as a mental health campaign in the midst of the COVID pandemic. So we really started with smaller campaigns, and then we grew into larger Peel region and Dufferin campaigns, and we hope to expand on those in the coming days. So as I mentioned earlier, in 2020, Caledon Pride joined Youth Activists, Inc. in the work that we do, advocating for LGBTQ communities in Caledon. and more broadly in Peel Region and in Orangeville. We actually partnered with Peel Region organizations, and we work closely with Celebrate Your Awesome here in the town of Orangeville. So we started with Pride flag raisings in community events. We also opened up a community safe space when we had the Youth Center for LGBTQ youth. And this past summer, we hosted our first ever Pride March in the town of Caledon, and we're going to hopefully continue that tradition into the future. So, whenever the well-being of LGBTQ community members was at stake, we were there to advocate for them, and we're going to continue to do that. So that's a bit more about that side of things. We also have some upcoming campaigns in the works. Our Ignorance Isn't Bliss environmental advocacy campaign is going to be running across Peel Region and Orangeville, Dufferin area in early 2024. So stay tuned for that. We're looking to dispel some myths about climate change and climate denialism. I think that's a message that a lot of people need to hear some days. And we're going to start that campaign soon. So be on the lookout for that. We've had quite a bit of impact in our local community. You can read some of our coverage in the Caledon Banner, the Orangeville Banner, the Caledon Enterprise, the Orangeville Citizen, and local and regional papers in the area. We've reached 55,000 young people through video views, engaged 130,000 young people across Canada, and have produced 5 fully fledged campaigns so far since our inception. So we're looking to continue to grow and expand on the campaigns that we've done so far. So I wanted to thank you, Mayor Post and members of council, for this presentation. You can learn more about Youth Activists Inc. at youthactivists.ca. And if you'd like to take a look at our campaigns that we run, our biggest one, this is humantrafficking.ca, leads us to our human trafficking campaign. So thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much, Mr. Basmat. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to hear all the great work that you're doing. And I'm going to pass this slide deck on to my youth advisory committee as well. I think that they'd be really interested in hearing about some of the stuff that you've been up to and probably reaching out to join forces with you. Councillor Andrews has a question.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and Mr. Basmat. Really a pleasure to have you come here. And I really was intrigued by your presentation and, of course, the information you provided in your PowerPoint. A couple of questions, and my connection to CryNot, for example, which is, of course, the human trafficking initiative. I truly commend you on that. But as chair of the EDI committee, I would certainly like to possibly invite you at a future date to speak with some of the committee members. But where I'm really going with this is I'm intrigued to find out how you fund some of your initiatives.
A lot of our funding comes from local grants. The town of Caledon has been an instrumental supporter in the work that we've done, Councillor Andrews, and as well as some private donations. In the past, we've received grants from various organizations. So, we're constantly on the lookout for grants and private donations in continuing to share the work that we're doing.
Thank you. Was there any additional questions or comments from members of council? Nope, seeing none. You're good. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Basmat. Up next, I'm going to invite Paul Trickett from St. Andrew Street to talk about the Men's Outreach Group. Mr. Trickett, come on up. The mic's already on for you, so you're all set.
Actually, I have a partner in crime, Stuart Russell, who's a co-founder of the program as well. So I'll be passing over the mic to him in a couple of minutes.
Perfect. Welcome, Mr. Russell, as well.
I did want to thank Madam Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and members of council for having us here today. This is a first for me. It's really great to see the operations and what a great team the town has put together. I've been in Orangeville now for a little over 22 years, born and raised in Brampton, but proud to call Orangeville my home now. I'll give you a little bit of a background with the Men's Outreach Orangeville program. It is fairly new. Essentially, we've been in play now for a little over 3 months. And just a bit of a background in regards to why we feel there's a need for this program and personal experience, and I'll get to that in a second. But just, again, being in town for a couple of decades, you get to know a few people. And you have a few conversations, and you get to see some of life's challenges personally and with those in the community. And through those conversations, and they were, you know, just sharing feelings and just sharing life struggles and what was going on in different people's lives. And it was really good. It was actually therapeutic for me to have someone listen to my troubles and family issues and so forth, and life struggles and successes and happiness as well. It's not all doom and gloom by any means. And there was a need or a lack thereof with a group, a safe place for men to come and share their feelings. And I think whether or not you're a man or a woman, you're either a man or you have men in your lives that are very near and dear to you. And traditionally, not always the case, but traditionally, we tend to struggle to express ourselves. We struggle to express our feelings and to open up. And that can lead to a multitude of issues down the road. And again, we've all experienced life struggles in our past. So this was an attempt to reach out, and I will thank and commend Mr. Joe Andrews for helping me. I've known him for some time too, and just to gain some insight and recommendations around how we could go about this. And obviously with his experience, he was very generous with his time. And we partnered, reached out to actually a few of the local churches in the community. And St. Mark's Anglican Church was gracious enough, and they still do donate 1 hour a week. So the meeting consists of, right now, 4 to 6 of us on a weekly basis. There are some regulars, there's some folks that come in from time to time, and we really just have an open forum. We have coffee, we have snacks, and we just talk about how the week is going. We do have aspirations to grow. We do feel there's a need in the community, and this is why we're here in front of you today. We want to get the word out. We are not as organized right now as my colleague that just spoke with the youth activist group. We'd like to get there, and we do feel there's a need. What we're asking everyone here today is to put the word out there to your local community groups, to professionals that you deal with each and every day, to get the word out there that there is a group, and we're here to stay. We will be seeking some grant and funding. We'll put our best foot forward and put together what we feel with minimal dollars, we could do a great deal within this community. And you know, before I turn it over to Stuart, I'm not a counselor. I don't have a background in counseling, but I have gone through some life struggles. I've gone through divorce. I've had family members that have had substance abuses. I have unfortunately had a immediate family member that unfortunately committed suicide. So again, I don't have any professional training, but I do have life experience, and I do have an ear to listen. And that's what we're hoping to get off the ground with your help. So I'll turn it over to Stuart for a few words.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. I'd just like to add to what Paul said, and I think one of the benefits of attending a group such as the one we're trying to put together is the fact that perhaps it's not professionals in there. I think one of the takeaways from me is speaking to some of the guys that we speak to in there is they're very reluctant a lot of times to reach out to quote unquote professional counselors, because it's not for them, right? When we get people come in and they're more willing, I think, sometimes to open up to just regular ordinary guys like us. And if we can just be there and listen, and like Paul said, sometimes it's not just talking about people's issues and people's problems. Sometimes it's talking about the good things that have happened in their life as well. And I really think there's a need for this, not just within Orangeville, but in our society in general, especially if we look at, the financial struggles that a lot of people are under. And, society is, historically, I suppose, is put men at the forefront of wanting to be the breadwinner. And we sometimes take on a lot of, sometimes I refer to as toxic masculinity with that. And I think it's important for guys of our sort of age. Everybody's gone through. You can't get to this point in your life without going through some sort of things that life throws you. And I think listening to what other people have been through, and then just giving an empathetic ear to anybody that comes in, can make a big difference. And our hope is that we can expand this and just really get the word out there and trying to get as many people as we can to try and engage with us. And it's a very non-formal show up if you want. Don't show up the next week if you want to, but just getting that word out there. And I'd like to thank you all for listening to what we have to say, and anything that you can do to help would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Paul and Stuart, thank you so much for that presentation and for letting us know what you're up to. You're right, this is very much a much needed service in our community, and I'm so grateful that you've put together the group. Before I turn it over to questions from the group, I just was wondering, what day does it meet and what times that we can share the word of where it is?
Yeah, so currently we're meeting at St. Mark's on a Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Perfect, thank you. 7 to 8:30? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And they don't have to sign up. They can just show up. Perfect. Thank you for that. Was there questions or comments from members of council? Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much. I got him before Councillor Andrews. This is good. Mr. Russell, very nice to meet you. And Paul, wonderful to see you again. Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, in terms of helping to get the word out, and I appreciate that you'll come back at another time and want to talk about finances, but in getting the word out, how do we do that? Is there a website? Is there an email? Is there a phone number? Like we're having to drag these things out. I was going to ask the same thing the mayor did, and then you stopped. You didn't give us.
We're
trying to help.
Yes, thank you. There absolutely is. So why don't I send over a bit of a two-pager with, we do have basically an insignia and our logo, and we do have an email address. We do have a Facebook Connect page as well. And I don't know if everyone else enjoys it. I think there's some interesting posts there from time to time about the Orangeville Question and Answer community group. I think they have something like 27,000 members. We do actively post prior to meeting dates. So, and we have been on 101.5. They've been gracious to have us on. We will be going back, but I will send something to the office with the details. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. And Mr. Trickett, you were very kind to acknowledge, the connection. I think that connection, it was very important, but you have done yeoman work in getting this off the ground along with Mr. Russell. A connection to a previous iteration of this was with FTP, for example, and the mentors group. And I know that we had spoken about this. And I think one of the absences we have, in fact, in our community is, in fact, a group where you can just get together without having that professional advocacy. But I really look at what is going to transpire in the coming months and hopefully coming years, the opportunity to garner some funding, and please come on back. I know that there's a process that we'll be talking about on how funding can potentially help any of our community groups. But having said that, I think you were, spot on with the idea that, masculinity in our community, we have a tendency just to say, okay, we're not going to worry about talking about it. We'll let others talk about it on our behalf. But I think that the opportunity you have to bring people together, and maybe through our network, we can certainly provide that information. And I love your poster that's out there. I've seen it in a number of different locations, and just getting the word out that it's okay to talk about these things. It's okay to get together, and it's okay to, just even if you don't have anything to say, just to listen to other stories that are out there. But again, gentlemen, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thanks, Councillor Andrews. Any additional questions, comments? No? Thank you very much, Mr. Trickett, Mr. Stewart, and Mr. Russell, for being here. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Next up, we are going to hear from the Rotary Club of Orangeville. We have Ed Campen, who's representing the Rotary Club, talking about fundraising plans for the redevelopment of Rotary Park. Welcome, Mr. Campen. Have a seat. We'll get the mic turned on for you, and you'll be ready to go.
I think that's it. Well, greetings to you, Madam Mayor, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and councillors. It's so good to be here on behalf of the Rotary Clubs of Orangeville. When I say clubs, I will explain that in a second, but I am a member of the Rotary Club of Orangeville itself. Rotary in general is founded in 1905, many, many years ago, and it does bring people together from different professions of work to support their community. And the Rotary described the initial practice of meeting at each member's place of business in rotation, but this has evolved from there, for sure. So now we have meetings in establishments, The Rotary Club of Orangeville meets in the evening, and the Rotary Club of Orangeville Highlands meets during the day. So we do have 2 clubs in our area. The Rotary International consists of 46,000 clubs worldwide in more than 220 countries and geographical areas. So it's interesting when Rotary members take holidays, many times they'll visit one Rotary club and they'll get a little banner and take that banner back to Orangeville. So it's pretty cool. Overall, they have 1.4 million members. So happy to say that. We create collaboration opportunities between other clubs locally, and I will explain that to you in a second, and internationally. Basically, we put our service above ourselves. Now, the Rotary Club of Orangeville and the Rotary Club of Highlands, Orangeville, we work together in many things, and sometimes you'll see us working together, but we'll still have the same logo, Rotary Club. So we do support each other for sure. The Orangeville Club, Rotary Club of Orangeville, founded in 1937, and notably, we have many contributions. We can think of the Rotary Park here in Orangeville and the skateboard park, and we think of Doc Gillies when we hear about these things. He had vision, and he was not ashamed of coming to somebody and saying, I need your help. And he did ask. So we also think about the Fenley Park splash pad. We think of the Island Lake Pavilion. So if you take a nice walk around Island Lake, that pavilion was supported by us. Island Lake Natural Playground was developed and supported with the other organizations. So we think of Friends of Island Lake, Orangeville Lions Club, Jackman Foundation, Dodds McNair. So we do seek the help of other foundations and businesses. There's also the hospital emergency entrance gazebo. So when you walk in, you can really enjoy the gazebo during the summer, winter, yeah, maybe not. But the gazebo for sure during the summertime. We also give donations to Choices, Family Transition Place, the Lighthouse, Oliver House, Orangeville Food Bank, Headwaters Healthcare Foundation, Orangeville Wolves, and many other community organizations. And we also help support and organize the Dufferin Industry Luncheon. And also we hold Let's Make Orangeville Shine. So our current contributions tend to focus on social services and parks. And we'll hear about that in a second. Our largest fundraiser is Orangeville Rotary Rib Fest. And I hope you folks enjoy that, continue to enjoy that. It's not only ribs, it's chicken and other things. We know about that. It's a lot of fun. And it really raises awareness to the community needs, but also gives us a chance to just celebrate Orangeville itself and have fun at the same time. So Orangeville Rotary Rib Fest started in 2010 with 4 ribbers. Attendance was 96,000. Profit was $10,672. Attendance in 2023 was 22,000 people, our second highest ever. It's amazing. And since 2010, the proceeds from RibFest have totaled just under $800,000. So we also work with many stakeholder groups in order to run this event, and we're very happy that they help us with this. Just to do it alone, it's impossible. So we seek the help of many agencies. So of course, the Alcohol Gaming Commission of Ontario, Dufferin County, Paramedic Services, Waste Management, OPP, the Town of Orangeville, thank you very much, Fire Services, Parks and Recreation, the Upper Grand District School Board, and the Public Health. It's amazing how people collaborate very quickly to get this going, and we really appreciate how they get involved. But we also have to seek suppliers. So we have many suppliers for beverages, such as the beer, coolers, wine, pop, and water. And then, of course, the entertainment, the stage, the fencing, the first aid, security, sanitation, tents, tables, and chairs. And, of course, the vendors. We have to seek out for the food tents, the trucks, the non-food vendors, and ribbers. At the same time, we're helping out community organizations. So we actually, when we ask for their help, they also get some contributions forwarded to them. So we think about the Scouts, we think about the Imperial Order of Daughters of Empire. It's a big one. Orangeville Flyers, the Orangeville Headwaters Minor Baseball Association, they really helped us out, and the Orangeville Northmen. So a lot of the volunteers that you saw at the RibFest were the Minor Baseball Association members and also the kids. Just phenomenal. So when we take a look at this, we also look at, we have a vision to raise young people to support their community and also help out. So lend a hand, and is to the benefit of the whole community. Are there any questions?
We're good so far.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have more to share? Or are you still?
Oh, did I forget something?
I see that there's 2 more slides coming. So,
Oh, yes.
okay.
Thank you. Appreciate that. So let's take a look at the Rotary. There we go. I got that one. The Rotary Park Playground renovation. That's the big part.
I'm waiting for
Yes,
it.
right. Edge of your seats. Got you going there. We are very excited about the town's redevelopment plans for the Rotary Park. So Don Voisey, bless his soul, passed away, but he had a vision for that with the town of Orangeville. And we have a great opportunity to support the playground renovation. So we're very happy to be part of that. And the Rotary Club of Orangeville is committing $250,000 over 7 years. The same amount contributed to Fenley Park Splash Pad. So we would like to donate a certain amount down and then the balance over 6 years for $200,000. So the town of Orangeville has requested an agreement between the town and RCO. I think you folks are going to discuss that tonight, if I recollect. And once the agreement is executed, Rotary Club of Orangeville will donate the $50,000 this Rotary year, and further details on how we proceed with funding will be defined in the agreement. Now, there are any questions?
First of all, thank you very much for your ongoing support of the community and all the hard work that all of you do. I know you've got a dedicated group of volunteers there who are very committed to community development and growth, and we thank you because you have made huge contributions across our community. So thank you for everything. I will turn it over to questions. Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So Mr. Campen, I apologize. So I did put out something, and we talked about it earlier. The report did say 50 over 5, and in here I just want to be specific. So it was wrong in the report.
Right.
And so it's 7, 250 and 7. So my apologies that
Yeah, so it'll be $50,000 down.
yeah.
And then over 6 years, the remainder 6 years will be.
I got so excited when I saw it in the report on the weekend. I wanted to put out and give.
We still appreciated the plug, though.
Yeah,
that you gave us.
Honestly, same as the mayor says. I mean, I've been a part of the RibFest for quite a few years in a very small way, and I know there's 2 people in the back of the room there. Ingrid, I see you trying to hide, and Charles as well, who dedicate a ton of time. And if I could, you mentioned Don Voisey. Don Voisey would be the reason I'm sitting here. He encouraged me to be here. He's one of the most influential Orangevillians that we've had in our community. So these are all prominent Rotarians and great people in our community. So I just wanted to acknowledge you, sir, and the great organization that you're in. And so pleased to have you do the event that you do and then pay it forward by allowing us to enjoy other things in our community. So happy to partner with you.
I appreciate the encouragement.
Was there any additional questions from members of council? Nope, seeing none. We are good. Thank you
Thank you.
so much, Mr. Campen, and thank you again. We're looking forward to RibFest again in July. Up next, we do have Sonia McDonald, who's joining us virtually from the Edify Center to talk about her grant application. Ms. McDonald, if you're there, perfect, I see you. And you're muted, so if you could just turn on your mic and then the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. I also believe that Brian McFadden is in the audience as well. I think he's going to sit at the delegate desk.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, come on over, Brian.
Okay, great.
He's here. I did say hi to him earlier, so. Okay, there you go, Sonia. It's all yours.
So firstly, thank you so much, Mayor Post and all of the councillors for having us. We know that we were just here recently to talk about the center, and we were in a place where we felt that we were needing to request some financial support. So we thought that we would come this evening to answer any questions that you might have about our financial assistance request, and also to give you a little bit of an update. And so since our meeting, we took many of the recommendations from the council and some conversations that we had, and spent a lot of time discussing the possibility of doing some research around the Edify Center becoming a not-for-profit entity. And so we, in a lot of deliberating and a lot of conversations and decision making, we did make that decision. So we have actually applied to the Canada Revenue Agency to have the organization fall under the not-for-profit guidelines. We're just waiting for a response. Our hope was we were going to hear that today, and we did not. I've been checking my email all day. But our hope is in the next couple of days, we will have that answer. It doesn't appear like there's going to be a problem. So we're actually quite excited to take on a bit of a new endeavor. And in our application to you, we had asked for, I went back to have a look, and we had requested the sum of $20,000. I actually thought that we had requested 30, because in my mind, I guess I had the whole budget all laid out, and we did only request 20. So the only other thing I brought with us this evening was to suggest, should the council maybe make the recommendation that there were additional funds on top of that 20, our decisions around spending those funds would be around things that we would be giving back to the community and how to grow our not-for-profit entity. So examples would be things like offering some free suicide intervention training spots to the community, offering some of our Fighter 30/30 sessions, groupings of 10. We could offer to multiple clients. Our goal would be to reach out to clients that have not been able to stay with us because of their financial strain. We would reach out to them and have them come back at a reduced rate. And so, yeah, we didn't want to reiterate all the things that we had talked about before. We just simply wanted to come and be here and answer any questions that you might have at this point.
Thank you very much, Sonia. I do have some questions. Deputy Mayor and then Councillor Andrews.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Good to see you, Brian. Sonia, I'm glad you're online. I certainly understand the great things that you do in our community, and I thank you for that. And I can imagine that the funding is important to you, and it's probably going to be spent in a very wise manner. I think the issue for me is the charitable piece. It's awkward to give it to a business that is not a charity, and it is taxpayers' money. And that's probably the catch for me as we go through this. And I certainly am not challenging you, your integrity, your business, and the great things that you do. It's just until that charity portion is figured out, it's difficult in my mind, and I don't speak for council, I speak for myself, to go forward. So it doesn't mean that you wouldn't be successful now. I mean, you could apply at another time, and I'm certainly not saying you wouldn't get it. It's just for me, as I sit here, that would be my difficulty at this time. And I just wanted to be upfront about that. Thank you.
I'm going to perhaps turn it over to Mr. Kelly at this point from Treasury to just talk about the application, because I know that typically our grants don't go to for-profit businesses. So I just wanted to talk about the kind of legalities of where we're at and how council can potentially proceed. And then I will turn it over to Councillor Andrews and then to Councillor Sherwood for questions. Mr. Kelly.
Thank you, Mayor Post. Yes, so to your point on the existing policy, so the existing policy does speak to the program being built for charitable and not-for-profit and youth organizations. As such, we were of the hopes, as well as Sonia has mentioned that this would have come in on time. I guess holding out hope for the CRA to move quickly on something is probably something that was optimistic. Having said that, the report was written as if that not-for-profit status had been obtained. Since it has not, it does, as Deputy Mayor Taylor has mentioned, put us in a difficult spot where if we were to recommend and have approval of funding a for-profit organization, it opens the door to any organization within the community coming forward. So the way the policy is written right now, it wouldn't be eligible as a for-profit organization. And to Deputy Mayor Taylor's point, we are looking tonight at a new process for the grant approval process that would use a third party. That third party also runs the programs for the county of Dufferin, which is my understanding. And through the application from this group, it did indicate that they weren't eligible through the County of Dufferin program because of that same reason. So from a consistency perspective, it probably would be best to wait until that not-for-profit or charitable status is obtained.
So your suggestion then at this point, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm going to try, would be potentially that instead of approving at this time would be to push it back to them to reapply through the new process, as long as the new process is passed today, once their charitable status has been obtained. Am I right on that?
Yes, that's correct. I would recommend that they reapply under the new program when they have that status in place and solidified.
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Kelly. Councillor Andrews.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and Sonia and Brian, thank you for being here. And I know the complexity is such as the process that has been identified and certainly in alignment with Deputy Mayor Taylor. Because of the information that has not been provided at this point from the CRA, I think we do have somewhat of we're at a bit of a crossroads. But having said that, the questions I have pertain to the nonprofit designation. Is there going to be anything from an operational change on the types of service that you would offer, or is it going to be basically what you're offering now, but all you're doing is going from the profit designation to a nonprofit? And the second question is, have you had any consultation with any legal that has specialization in nonprofit designation organizations?
Sonia or Brian? I'm not sure who wants to take it. Sonia, go ahead. Go ahead, Sonia.
Oh, sorry. Brian was talking. I couldn't hear.
No problem.
Okay. So the first question is operationally, I think the center will definitely look similar. It's going to look, we're going to offer the same types of programs. One of the things about identifying not-for-profit status would be that clearly we are also going to be able to offer a different type of a fee structure for individuals. We will be able to have, hopefully through grants, have pools of money and funds to be able to assist families who really can't afford our current service. It would also afford us the luxury to be able to really look at offering some all of our mental health education services at a different rate or a lower level, or going into organizations and offering that at a reduced rate or at a free rate if we had grants to do that. Because what we're really recognizing is that our community is struggling at a level that not only do we need to be providing service, but we do need to be providing mental health education to people who need it. In terms of consultation around the not-for-profit, we've spoken to multiple people who work in not-for-profit. We consulted with Corporations Canada on a couple of occasions in the last little while. Also, Charitable Certified Accountant has given us some direction. And at this point, I know that Brian maybe spoke with I'm sorry, his name is escaping me, the lawyer. Patrick White, is that correct? Yeah. And so we've been having all of those different types of conversations about moving forward.
Thank you. Councillor Sherwood.
Oh, yes, through your worship. I have a question for the treasurer, but I want to ask the delegate confirmation first. Sonia and Brian, thank you so much for everything you do. I know there is very much a need for the services that you're providing. Can you clarify to me, Sonia, whether the funding that you're asking for is going directly towards youth, or is it for everyone and anyone? Or is it specifically going for youth programs?
Sonia, go ahead.
So this funding in particular that we requested of the town, we requested it in kind of an emergency situation in order for us to maintain our service. But I can tell you that a lot of that funding would go back to our clients, and the majority of our clients are youth. Not all, but a lot of our clients are youth.
Councillor Sherwood.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So to the Treasurer, under the Financial Assistance Policy application, in the opening statement, it mentions that the criteria is for nonprofit, charitable, or youth organizations. It's not specifying that it can not be a for-profit youth organization. Can you clarify for me, please, whether if their money was going to go directly to youth in the services they're providing, would they still be able to be eligible under that policy statement?
Mr. Kelly.
Here we go, that one. Through you, Mayor Post, to Councillor Sherwood. The policy itself doesn't provide specific definitions, so I would have to go with the interpretation. The policy wasn't written by myself, it was before my time, but in previous policies that I've written on grant programs, youth organizations would pertain to voluntary or community organizations that are run by youth, generally don't have adults at the helm leading the organization, which makes it a difficult spot for them to achieve funding. That's why youth organizations are generally under these types of programs. I don't think it's specifying an organization that serves youth, because that really would, again, broaden the scope of a program like this. It's limited funding within the program that's capped at a certain amount, and there's criteria in place. My interpretation, though I didn't write that policy, would be that the youth refers to organizations led by youth. Having said that, I think this does, and your question does open up the opportunity for us to review that policy itself and update it based on, again, this is speaking in advance of the report regarding the new process for the grant program, but maybe reviewing what the policy setup is and solidifying that for future councils as well.
Perfect. Thank you. My comment was going to be additionally, and I'll turn it back over to you, Councillor Sherwood, was that youth-run organizations typically don't have the formal not-for-profit status or the formal charitable process, and that may be why it's included that way, but I know it typically wouldn't be a for-profit business that we could offer a grant to. Councillor Sherwood, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Before I go further, I think the CAO looks like he might want to have a word or two.
Yeah,
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for being that. I just want to comment that I know that there is some legislation that prohibits municipalities from directly contributing to private for-profit organizations. So that's not connected to the grant process we're talking about, but it is municipal legislation that we'd have to review and make sure we're giving you good advice on.
So, Your Worship,
Sherwood,
just my final comment, Sonia and Brian, it breaks my heart to have to say you this, but I gotta make publicly known my position. And sadly, we're a policy and procedure board here, so we have to kind of follow our own rules and regulations. So I would gladly support you once you receive that not-for-profit or charitable organization certification. But at this point, as you stand as a for-profit, I wouldn't be able to support you at this time, sadly.
Was there any additional questions, Councillor Prendergast?
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. I'm just looking at the staff report, and it indicates that the Edify Center is receiving funds from other levels of government, and I was wondering which level of government, and if it is a renewable revenue stream, or in what nature is that? Does that sound familiar to you, Mrs. McDonald? It was in the staff report that we received.
No, absolutely not. We don't receive any funding. We generate our funding through revenues for service.
Perhaps there was a typo then. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, yeah.
Yeah, I would just confirm that that's correct. What Ms. McDonald's saying. They listed their sources of funding and it doesn't include other levels of government. So that must be a typo within the report. We can correct that.
Thank you. Any additional questions or comments from members of council? No. Sonia and Brian, thank you both for being here. And I don't want to diminish any of the work that you do, because the work that you do is so valuable in our community and we really appreciate the service that you offer. We're in a tough position right now with you not having yet received your not-for-profit status. So I do hope that you will come back and apply for funding under whatever the new process is once that charitable status has been received. But thank you for being here today. Did you have any final thoughts? You looked like you wanted to say one more thing, Ms. McDonald. I can turn it back to you. No, you're good?
No, other than thank you so much. We do understand the position that the council is in, and we appreciate that you've spent so much time with us trying to be supportive. And we did take all of your recommendations and all of our conversations into account as we made this decision. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Brian, for being here as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I still would like to invite every single one of you to stop by the center. And I know some of you have been there, but it's a really cool place. It's
a very cool place. You guys do great work.
You just need to come and see it.
Yeah.
Just come in, have a coffee, tea, even if it's 5 minutes, just stop by and have a look.
Thank you.
Thank you. But I'm going to apologize. I do have to leave. I've been at the center since 7 this morning.
No worries.
I'm going to feed my dogs and son.
We don't expect you to
Hours
stay.
away.
You're all good.
Thank
you. Okay, we will move now into consent agenda. The following resolutions have been prepared to facilitate council's consideration on various matters and are voted on collectively unless a member of council otherwise requests. The recommendation is that all consent agenda items for January 8th, 2024, listed under 13.1 staff reports, 13.2 correspondence, and 13.3 committee board minutes be received or approved as presented. Was there any that anybody wanted to remove? Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to remove for discussion 13.1.1.
Okay, thank you. Was there any others? Deputy Mayor.
Your Worship, I just love to talk ever so quickly about 13.1.5, the Elizabeth location.
Sounds good. Any others? Other than that? Okay, so we will change that motion to just say that all consent agenda items for the January 8th, 2024 council meeting list. Can I change it to with the exception of? So with the exception of 13.1.1 and 13.1.5 be received or approved as presented. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Stevens. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. So we will now move into 14, which is staff reports, and we will start with 13.1.1, which will be the new first beginning there. So I will turn it over to Councillor Andrews.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think all of us who have just listened to this most recent delegation, as we are aware that the town is considering an optional way of processing our community grants, I think we've come to a point within our organization that we have to have an opportunity to provide as much clarity and transparency to any of the community groups that come forward for community grants. We have a substantial amount of funds that in fact are pegged for a variety of different groups, some of which are in fact allocations that will be given over a period of time, and we also have those one-time asks as well. I think the complexity is as we move forward with this potential new organization is just to get some clarity from, I'm assuming, the treasurer on how this will move forward. And I know that there is an ask of approximately $33,000 over a 2-year period on supporting the needs of the organization that will be in fact monitoring and processing and again providing to council for recommendation the approval of any of those applicants.
Mr. Kelly.
Sure. Through you, Mayor Post, to Councillor Andrews, great question. So following, I guess, council direction, I believe it was in August, there was a request for us to look into a third party administering this program for a number of reasons. Staff did reach out to Headwaters, who run the program, as I said, for the County of Dufferin and have ran it quite successfully. Staff were well aware entering those conversations that this wouldn't be a free service provided by that party. There is a cost to it. We did look at the cost proposal that was provided in comparison to what the fee structure is for the County of Dufferin. We do have a significant number of additional recipients and applicants at the town of Orangeville than what the county receives for their program. So our cost is slightly higher than what it is there. We felt it was a reasonable request for the amount of time and effort that's going to be put into running this program holistically. It would come back to council, staff would see it, and it would come forward to council following the work from Headwaters. The program will have some improvements being run by the third party. One, they're bringing in a process that I would support as well of 2 intakes a year, not a rolling open-ended intake process. They do have experience in vetting the applications. They use a group of members of their, I don't believe it's called a board, it's a leadership group at Headwaters, as well as they do look for members of the community to participate on this selection committee or review committee. So it does have a broader scope from the community of people reviewing the applications. I've looked at what they've put forward for the County of Dufferin program. I think they do an excellent job from my perspective. That's not to say that the job that's being done here historically by staff hasn't been done admirably as well, but I think the town could benefit from what Headwaters has put forward. So the new program would run with 2 intakes a year. It would have a fee structure of $15,000 to run the program. That would be net new funding beginning in 2025. We wouldn't want the funds for Headwaters to administer the program to take away from what the community receives through the grants program. So it is seeking new funding beginning in 2025. The recommendation also indicates that we would fund the first year, 2024, with unspent allocations from the 2023 program. So that's what's before you. The full agreement was put together by Headwaters, the executive director, and reviewed by staff in detail, and it's there for your consideration.
Thank you. Councillor Andrews?
I just wanted to comment, and again, Mr. Kelly, thank you for the detail, and I really appreciate the detail in your report too. It helped tremendously, at least from my seat here, understanding exactly what this particular agreement will be all about. And again, kudos to the staff who've been part of this process previously. There was a lot of time and effort, and I think the ability to provide some guidance to all of those applicants that came forth. We've had a number that we have approved, but there's also been others that have not been successful. And I think that this takes away the onus on us to make a decision. It allows the third party to effectively give the answers that the applicants need to hear. So again, a lot of great detail. And again, thank you to the staff who are involved with this process too as well.
Thanks, Councillor Andrews. Councillor McIntosh?
Thank you, Your Worship. I know being on Dufferin County Council the last term, I found this to be a great asset. It was simple. Council was just asked to approve a list of items. We didn't have to approve them, and there was certainly some discussion on some of the items, but I just think this is a great thing. As far as the cost, there's a price to doing business, and this is it. So I fully support this. Thank you.
Was there any additional questions? Councillor Prendergast, and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Post, through you. I definitely support this program. I think it will give a high degree of fairness. It will encourage community groups to apply by a deadline 2 times a year. My only kind of concern or hiccup would be that sometimes emergencies happen and community groups need to address us. As long as there's an avenue for those emergency situations that might come up, like the senior center, how there was an issue with the foundation and flooding and water coming in. Just little things like that might come up that might be urgent. Is there a way, Mr. Kelly, that community groups could address council outside of this program?
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Post, I would say you used some excellent examples there with the seniors center. That's an avenue which can be approached, I guess, at any time by the community. It's just that council needs to be aware that those are unbudgeted requests, one time in nature, and you did use the word emergency. So you do have the mandate, I guess, as council of determining, is it something that we should be moving forward with funding that is an emergency need, that is our responsibility and within our mandate. But yes, there's ways of approaching funding that can be discussed when those opportunities come about.
Thank you. I think my comment to that would be is that any community member at any time can always delegate to council. It will just be up to council to find a source of funding to pay for those situations if we deem that it's of merit. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I just think I want to first of all share that I'll be supporting it, and I think what it does is it takes the politics out of politics. And as someone who sits on this board and is part of some of the other boards that come, and I've had to declare a conflict, you know, it's awkward because I know that that enterprise is benevolent, and yet I have to pull out, and I've never enjoyed that part of this job. And now this way, it all comes out for us. And you know, even things tonight with two people here that I respect and think highly of, and we're having to say that unfortunately you don't make the mustard. It's just not a fun exercise, and I think it's best to do exactly what we're doing. And I wanted to offer why I'm supportive of that initiative.
Thank you. Was there additional questions or comments? I would just offer as well that I've been through the process both as a community organization through the County of Dufferin and sitting on council now, and it's a great process. The Headwaters Communities in Action does a fantastic job of doing that report and of vetting the applications, and they provide a sufficient amount of information. And as a community group who's applied for that, I found it very streamlined. It makes sense. You can link your organization with which strategic priority makes sense, and it was just really clean to do it that way. So I'll be supporting it as well. If there's no further questions, Councillor Stevens.
Probably, maybe you can just answer this for me. If you're declined, do we still see that process? Like, would we be able to know that someone was declined?
At the county level, what happens is that the report comes and it shows the organization, how much they requested and how much was approved. So what you do see sometimes is that they've requested, $5,000 and they've gotten $2,000, or they've requested $5,000 and gotten $0, and you'll see all of those in there, and you'll be able to ask questions or clarification on any of those as well. Yeah, no problem. No additional questions? Okay. So the recommendation is that report CPS 2024-003, the 2024 Community Grant Headwaters Communities in Action HCIA agreement be received, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the services agreement between HCIA and the town of Orangeville, and that council approve the allocation of $18,000 in unexpended 2023 community grants funding to HCIA for year 1 of the service agreement, and that council direct staff to include a provision of $15,000 in the 2025 budget for year 2 of the service agreement. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews and Councillor Prendergast. Last questions or comments? All in favor? And that's carried unanimously. We'll now move to 13.1.5, which is the 200 Elizabeth Street part lot control exemption application. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Mr. Koslak or Mr. Ward, if he's on the line, just for educational purposes, like to me, this ship has sailed ages ago. The buildings are up. I assume it's just a rubber stamp, and I did read the report, but I still didn't really understand. It feels like, you know, the bus has left the station and we're still doing things with this. And I just wanted to, for my learning, understand why we're addressing this tonight.
Mr. Koslak.
Certainly. Through Your Worship, part of the process when you've had it's a semi-detached building, they come back after it's built, maybe the wall shifted by a couple centimeters. So they do an as-built drawing using an Ontario land survey that determines exactly where the lot lines will be. So you don't have the lot line going through your property where it should be on the neighbors. So it finalizes exactly where the lines are for construction. That way with the registered plan, they can sell the properties to freehold property owners. It's just more of a confirmation that the property lines are the lines between the units. So it's just more of a process. That's the only reason it's coming back.
Is that good, Deputy Mayor? Any additional questions? Okay, so the recommendation, now I've lost it, hang on one sec, is that report INS 2024-002, 200 Elizabeth Street, part lot control exemption application, file number PLC 2022-02 be received, and that council pass the bylaw to exempt the subject lands from the part lot control provisions of the Planning Act in order to create 4 semi-detached dwelling lots. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Andrews, Councillor Prendergast, any questions or comments? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We will now move into staff reports, beginning with 14.1, the Rotary Club of Orangeville funding donation, playground renovation. The recommendation is that report CMS 2023-51, the Rotary Club of Orangeville funding donation, playground renovation be received, and that council endorse the Rotary Club of Orangeville's fundraising activities and approve the use of the Town of Orangeville logo on the fundraising material, and that council approve the agreement between Rotary Club of Orangeville and the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville as outlined in attachment B to this report, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to enter into and execute a donation agreement with the Rotary Club of Orangeville for the provision of a replacement playground structure at Rotary Park at 72nd Avenue, Orangeville. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Sherwood and Councillor McIntosh. Any questions or comments on this item? Seeing no. Yep. Ms. Go ahead.
I think the general manager wants to make a brief comment about the 5-year and 7-year.
Thank you. Ms. Savage, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Post. Deputy Mayor Taylor, you had mentioned it earlier. There was a discrepancy between the presentation we heard earlier from Mr. Campen and the report. On page 2 of the report, it did state that the Rotary Club would donate $250,000 over 5 years. They still will donate their $250,000. It will be $50,000 in 2024. And then for the remaining 6 years, it will be $33,333.33. One being 35 cents to make it an even $250,000. So I just wanted to note that.
Thank you very much, Ms. Savage. Any additional questions or comments? Okay, all in favor? And that is carried unanimously. We will unanimously take your money from the Rotary Club. Thank you very much. Again, we appreciate your donations. 14.2, the recommendation is that report CPS 2024-002 2023 community grants final update be received. Initially in the report, it was written in there regarding the Edify Center. I will remove that component and just read it as that report CPS 2024-002, the 2023 community grants final update be received, and that council approved distribution of 2024 community grant budgeted funds to Headwaters Community in Action for $1,200 from one-time grants. Can I have a motion? Councillor McIntosh, seconded by Deputy Mayor. Any questions or comments? Councillor Sherwood?
Yes, Your Worship, through you to the treasurer. I don't know if it falls under this report or not, but I recall reading somewhere that our one-time grants have been, we budgeted 95,000, but we approved 117,000. And I'm just wondering how come there's that overage.
Mr. Kelly?
Sure, through you, Mayor Post, you probably would have been reading in a report that discussed if we did fund the Headwaters Community in Action year 1 of running the program, the $18,000 of funding for them to run that program. We said we would take that from unspent funds, aggregate unspent funds within the municipal grants program. That's probably where you would have got that calculation from. I can confirm that of the $95,000, sorry, that was in $95,000 was in multi-year grants and 87,000 of that had been spent. There was 80,000 in the one-time grants. The report would have indicated 69,000 being spent of that. Since the 20,000 isn't going to Edify, it would actually be 49,000 spent of the one-time grants.
Councillor Sherwood.
So just to follow up, I should have mentioned this earlier, but it just came to light. Page 31 of the agenda, there's a summary of approved multi-year grants that's totaling 117,000. It's not mentioning anything in there about the 18,000. Sorry, I am putting you on the spot here, and I apologize. That's not normally my style. But I'm just wondering how come that overage is being shown when we know we only wanted 95,000. And I know there's a tentative approval there for family transition place, which would bring it back down. But have we heard back from them, or are we able to pull that out so that we do get under that budgeted amount? Because I'm a little concerned that we're over budget.
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, no, I think, sorry, now, thank you for clarifying the page that you were looking to. This is referring to the 2024 program, so next year's program. And the report where we brought that forward indicated that we'd be shifting funds from the one-time program to increase the multi-year program up to that level, up to the 117,000. So the entire program of a whole is still going to be at 175,000, a mix of multi-year and one-time. But as that previous report indicated, and I'm sorry, I don't have the report number in front of me. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. the shift of funds goes over to the multi-year program, but the total envelope is still $175,000. So that 117 doesn't speak to 2023 budget, it speaks to 2024 budget.
And Councillor Sherwood, when it comes to Family Transition Place, I can speak to that briefly. If you've got follow-up, go ahead first, but okay. Family Transition Place, I was speaking with Nora Kennedy, the director there, just a couple of days ago, and they are still hopeful that they can reapply for another grant for that funding. So it would be my suggestion that we leave that $20,000 as tentatively approved in the event that they are successful in that, because we held it so that they could confidently say in a grant application that they have the support of Council of the Town of Orangeville and County of Dufferin to be able to put that into their application to CMHC to say we have this ongoing support to support it.
Right, and I fully support that support.
Yes.
But I guess what I was saying, I had heard that they had applied and were denied twice. So I didn't know if that was still an active application. So I appreciate the update on that. I'm still in support of holding those funds.
Yes, perfect. Okay, wonderful. Any additional questions or comments there? Okay, so I think I had a mover and seconder. Yes. Okay. All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. There was no notices of motion prior to tonight's meeting. Is there any notices of motion at tonight's meeting? No, seeing none. Any announcements? Councillor Andrews and then Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Looking at Council's schedule and that of course, what's happening in our community. This Wednesday, you're going to be leading a proclamation on behalf of the Alzheimer's Society of Dufferin. For those of us who have been affected by Alzheimer's or dementia, I hope that you can come out. But if not, think about this organization. It's 10:30 here outside of Town Hall, weather permitting. I know we have a snowstorm that's supposedly on the way, but it is very important that you do support this organization.
Thank you for that, Councillor Andrews. Was there any additional items for announcement? Deputy Mayor, yes, sorry, I forgot.
It's okay, you've forgotten me before, yes. So quickly, I just wanted to offer congratulations again to my friends in the Orangeville Optimist Club. Christmas in the Park, we had almost 23,000 people go through that park this year. So thank you to council and town staff for partnering with the Orangeville Optimists. Just such a great event. The second thing I just wanted everybody to know is the BIA's annual general meeting is Tuesday, January 23rd. There'll be a social at 6:30 in the atrium, and the meeting starts at 7:30. So I understand the guest of honor is not coming, so I'm the opening remarks. So it probably won't be very interesting without Mayor Post there. But
thank you, Councillor Prendergast.
Thank you, Mayor Post. It's just an update. Tomorrow night's Sustainable Orangeville meeting has been moved to a virtual format. So, those of you on YouTube at home, if you're planning on coming to Town Hall, please don't, but you can join us virtually. And if you're looking for the link, the information's on the town website. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Prendergast. Any additional announcements for any members of council? Nope, seeing none. Okay, we will move into bylaws. The recommendation is that the bylaws listed below be read 3 times and finally passed. 18.1 is a bylaw to prohibit or regulate the removal of topsoil, the placing or dumping of fill, and the alteration of the grade of land in the town of Orangeville, called the Site Alteration Bylaw. 18.2, a bylaw to authorize the temporary borrowing of monies is specified in this bylaw to meet until the taxes are collected the current year expenditures of the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville for the year 2024. A bylaw to exempt a portion of registered Plan 237 from part lot control, Sheldon Creek Developments, Inc. at 200 Elizabeth Street, PLC 2022-03. A bylaw to authorize the entering into and execution of a service agreement with Headwaters Communities in Action for the purpose of administration, assessment, and recommendations for the Orangeville Community Grants Program. A bylaw to authorize the entering into and execution of a donation agreement with the Rotary Club of Orangeville for the provision of a replacement playground structure at Rotary Park. And a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Orangeville at its regular council meeting held tonight, January 8th, 2024. Can I have a motion, please? Councillor Stevens and Councillor Sherwood. Questions or comments? All in favor? And that is carried unanimously. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Sherwood and Councillor McIntosh, all in favor? Carried unanimously. Have a wonderful evening, all.